Hi, welcome to the Forecasting for Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brie. I'm a doctor of psychology, financial educator, astrologer, and founder of Forecasting for Success, a community of people improving their financial literacy to achieve financial independence. I blend my expertise as a former professor and financial intelligence analyst with the tool of astrology to help break down why you are struggling with specific money habits and the best way to form more intentional responses and choices when it comes to money, especially to help you feel more secure in your financial decisions and improve your money skills for building long-term wealth. Welcome back to the Forecasting for Success podcast. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review the show because your support really helps me and the show continue to do well. You can also sign up to be a podcast guest at forecastingforsuccess.com/podcast. The full transcripts of every episode are also posted to my website, and you can find the link in the show notes of each episode, along with other helpful resources, which includes signing up for my free monthly investing masterclass, where I teach the basics of why and how to invest in the stock market, how to invest even when you're paying off debt, and it includes a live question and answer session and a free money guide at the end. So click on the link in the show notes to sign up, and I'll see you in the next class. My guest today is Jennifer, who is new-ish to astrology and has questions about how the current transits are influencing her natal chart placements. We also discuss her basic investment strategy as a Swiss citizen. So it was a pleasure getting to compare and contrast investing as a European versus many of my American clients. So let's go ahead and get into it. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here today. What would you like a reading about?
Hey, well, thank you so much for having me. Well, it will be just all very interesting. I'm an astrology newbie. I don't know. I know my ultra basics, like my sun, my moon, my rising. That's how. But I know I'm aware that like currently we're entering we're having big shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Aquarius coming in. Like so I kind of like I know that, and I am a big fan of like Johnny and her horoscopes, and I'm like having the app and I'm always looking. But apart from that, so but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like what's currently going on. Like I've already seen some like some things come to life that I feel like, oh, okay, I have like more eyes on my work since beginning of the year,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel like is, I don't know, might be part to what's going on skywise. And yeah, it would just be interesting to kind of like learn more about me and the way I do certain things. Like I always see, I mean, I once had a human design reading and I always see these things as kind of like tools to learn something about myself, or like, oh, I now I kind of maybe know why I do certain things the way I do. And I don't know, yeah, what resonates with me, and I don't know, just very broad and open and curious.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited because you're right. You do have a lot of really interesting transits and things going on right now whenever it comes to your natal chart. So
Okay.
I would be really happy just to share what I'm seeing and then to hear your feedback of how you've been experiencing it, how you've been living your chart. So I'm very excited to start getting into it. And please let me know if I need to use any plain language if I start speaking, and it's like its own language. Astrology is like its own language. So if anything's not clear, please let me know.
Okay, good,
We are going to share your birth information for this episode. And so if anyone would like to follow along, your birth information is June 6th, 1984 at 5:01 a.m. in Baden, Switzerland.
Yes.
Perfect. So, what I was first excited to see whenever I pulled up your chart and all the current transits that are happening between where the planets were at the time of your birth versus where they are now. So, we look not only at your natural tendencies, the natural energy, and goals that you have for this life with your natal chart, but we also look at what the planets are doing and how they're aspecting your natal planets. Because this is when we get into certain challenges and opportunities that we all face. What I was really excited to see was that Jupiter is currently in your first house. And your first house represents your worldview, So, how you see the world and how the world first sees you. So, this is like the very first layer of who you are before we get into deeper layers. And the
Mm.
really good thing about Jupiter being there in your first house is that your natal Venus and your natal Sun are also placed in your first house. So, what this does is Jupiter represents expansion. And so, since your Sun represents your ego and your goals and where you're going in life, and in part, there are other places in your chart where that comes up too, but it can represent a time of really good fortune and an expansion of positive things for you. So it's really important to be very mindful and forward leaning and forward thinking about where you decide to invest your time and energy while Jupiter is hanging out here in this first house with your other planets,
Mhm.
because it's a really good time for you to move ahead in something that's very meaningful and impactful for you.
How long is Jupiter going to stay in my first house? So
So
like
it's
I know what the time frame.
exactly. So Jupiter is going to be hanging out there until the end of May.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. So it is really important to be mindful of what you want to expand during this transit.
Mm.
So, my encouragement for you is just to be very intentional about what you want to increase, what you want to have grow in your life. That way, Jupiter gives the correct thing, the right thing, a boost for you. So, just
Mm.
to be very clear in your mind about what you want and where you would like to go, what you want to grow.
Yeah.
And this also will apply for Jupiter entering your second house. And that happens specifically on 25 May. So on 25 May is when Jupiter enters the second house. And the second house represents our values, like what we value in life. So it's not only external values and external resources, but also internal values. So internal self-esteem, self-worth, things of this nature. So it's internal and external. And
Mm.
so between 25 May and about mid-August is it's going to be hanging out here in the second house for you. So what I was going to do is to get even more specific and say from now until 8 May to focus your intentions on overall what positive growth you would like to have in basically any area of life or any part of yourself. And
Hmm.
then between 8 and 25 May to get really specific and to get very clear intentions set for how to attract and grow your income, your money, and other potential resources that you need. So if you're lacking any internal or external resources that you feel like I said, lacking and are needed, that is when we get more specific with that topic specifically.
Oh.
And then this way you'll be mentally prepared and just mentally ready to take action on any new ideas, any new opportunities that come up for you between the end of May and mid-August.
Oh, gonna be an interesting summer then.
Yes. And the only word of caution that I have about this, about these transits between through your first and second house, is
Mhm.
that Jupiter is going to be opposite your natal Jupiter whenever it's in your second house. So during this May to August time period, there will be a moment there where it's opposite your natal Jupiter. Let's see, how do I want to say this? It'll be important to take on not too many tasks or projects during that part of the transit, just to ensure you're not spreading yourself too thin. So it's just to be mindful of your time and your energy to not over expand yourself, because there is a potential, again, with Jupiter, since it is about expansion, to overdo it, to get a little too overwhelmed or a little too optimistic about being able to do, 20 things all at the same time. So that's all. Whatever ideas you come up with or decisions you're making, just remember not to spread yourself too thin during this time period.
Yeah, okay. Then yeah, really going back on kind of like this reflective period that is now, right? And see, oh,
Mhm.
are all these things I could do they really align with what I said I really wanted?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even if you do happen to come up with a really long list, It's okay to do some things in the future, even if you come up with a lot of really great ideas, just to be realistic about when to action them. So some of them this summer and then maybe some of them this fall instead of everything all at once.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about that transit before we move on to the next one?
No, this is gonna be an exciting one.
So
Like,
the next one that I found really interesting is that
okay, so
you're
can I jump back? I just have
totally.
one question. So you said Jupiter is gonna go into my second house, which is kind of like values and how I see the world, right? So would like does this mean I usually like the values I hold dear just I kind of like get more clear, amplified, or does it mean like I start valuing different things?
Yeah, so it could technically be both.
Okay.
So what you could do is you could, oh, I'm breaking stuff over here. What you could do is decide that some of your values are like they need to be re-ranked. Like you've
Yeah.
decided, okay, I'm deciding that I like all of my personal values, things like loyalty and responsibility and things of this nature. But I need to rearrange them. So for this period of my life, I've decided that one needs a little more attention, a little more of my time and energy than others. So you could just decide to rearrange them. But there is always the potential to where you've decided maybe that isn't a personal value. Maybe that was something different. Maybe that was a value that was preferred by a group that you were a part of.
Mm,
Or maybe that's a value that falls in a different type of life bucket. So it's not necessarily a personal value, but it could be a business value. And
yeah.
so it's more applicable when you're in the role of doing your profession vice your personal life. And so there could be a reassessment during this period to where you're more mindful not only of how you present yourself in certain avenues, in specific avenues, how you present yourself in the private sphere versus the public sphere, etc.
Yeah. Okay.
Or you deciding, hey, I've realized that I value something that I never quite put words to. I have technically a new value that I didn't formally recognize.
Mm, mhm. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Be prepared for everything.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the other transit that I was going to mention that I was really interested to see in your natal chart is that you have Mercury in Taurus and Venus in Gemini. And what this means is these two planets are in something called mutual reception.
Okay.
This means that their natural signs of rulership are shared. They kind of cross. And whenever this happens in your natal chart, they act as if they're touching. They act as if they're conjunct or right next to each other,
Mhm.
even though in your chart they're technically not. They're not conjunct, but their energy acts like it because they're sharing
Yeah.
ownership. And so it gives these two planets a really special connection even though, like I said, Venus is in your first house and you've got Mercury in your 12th house. So, Mercury, this represents communication and ideas. And Venus, of course, represents values, things of the second house, because Venus technically has rulership of the second house and Mercury has rulership of your third house. So, that's where we get into communication and things of that nature.
Mm,
But what this means is that when Mercury is in your 12th house, it values building a bridge between the unconscious and the conscious mind. So it really values when wanting to integrate really important elements into conscious awareness. So it's like you value introspection and discovering what makes a person into who they are.
hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally my thing. Okay.
it's
Not a sociologist for nothing.
exactly. And it's really interesting because with it being in the 12th house, even though you highly value this this blending, this intrigue when it comes to the balance between conscious and unconscious, it ironically can cause you to prefer to keep messy parts of your own self discovery to be very private, even though it intrigues you about other people and you like seeing the process and the growth in others. It's not necessarily something that you want to completely and 100% put out into the world about yourself
Mhm.
because the 12th house is more hidden. It does represent the subconscious, the unconscious. But overall, it does show that you enjoy the ebb and flow between the unconscious and conscious. That whole ebb and flow is a very fascinating process.
Mhm.
And it also, the placement can also cause you to really value and trust your intuition. You actually have several placements that show that you have a very high level of intuition, like this unspoken understanding of the world and other people, because not only this placement of Mercury, but also the fact that it shares a mutual reception with Venus. It makes you very talented at identifying not only what you want, but also what other people desire and want as well. So this is a really beneficial placement because it helps you be seen not only as charming, but also resourceful. So it makes you have this natural light, this natural energy to where other people are drawn to you. They want to hear what you have to say. They want to hear your ideas and your thoughts and your experiences because you're not only resourceful, but inspirational. It's really the energy of being inspirational and helpful for others.
Mm.
And this type of mutual reception between these two planets is also beneficial for the purposes of the second house, because your second house is ruled by Gemini, which gives it another layer of having all of
I'm
these,
layered, bitch.
right? It's another layer of just how heavily emphasized Venus and Mercury are in your chart.
Mm.
Because both of these planets now technically influence what you value and how you both assess and attract resources, to include money, of course, to include finances. So these placements can give you the natural ability to draw money and resources towards you rather than having to chase after it, as some other placements often make people have to do.
Mhm.
And on top of that, the more knowledge you possess, the more safe you can feel and the more resourceful you can become to ensure what you need.
Mm.
Because it's a valuing of knowledge, information, communication. All of these things are very meaningful to you, and you also see value in them and what they can do for you at a very intuitive and automated level that a lot of people just don't have the skills or the awareness to do. You're able to do this very, very quickly and make it last. It's very robust and broad. The resourcefulness that you have with things like information and knowledge, the way that you're able to apply it to benefit yourself and others if you so choose.
Mm. Yeah, that resonates. Like I am a big advocate for lifelong learning. Like I truly believe you've never learned enough about anything.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. Like I just recently had this conversation with a friend and she's like, now you also know stuff about gardening. Like what I mean, and I'm like, well, I'm not everything about gardening. I mean, stuff I don't know how I can make the plants grow that grow on my patio, but I mean, don't ask me shit about agriculture. It has always been really like fascinating or puzzling to people, kind of like, oh, but how can you know this but not know that? Then my answer always has been like, well, because I don't care about that. I don't care at all about that, so I don't feel I need to like read up on it.
Right.
Other thing that is really fascinating. Why is that fascinating? Oh, because I don't know, it's just really fascinating to me. Yeah, it resonates for sure.
Yeah, it's wild the different types of topics and different pieces of information, how we all string them together differently. Because some people will just assume one thing is connected to the other, but it's really about their personal experience. Their personal experience may have connected two different topics, but
Hmm.
two different things might not naturally be connected. So it's just really funny how we all experience different areas like this.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
re that's really interesting.
Are there any questions that you might have about this shared aspect of how heavily emphasized your Venus and your Mercury are in your chart before we move on to the next one?
Maybe just in a broader sense of like what to watch out for. Like I know with some of my more astrology savvy friends, they're always like, "Yeah, Gemini, not the most like loved of all of them." Oh, well, it's my sun and my rising. So yay. Tell me, like, I don't know, what are there things like to be mindful of like, I don't know, that might maybe come up if this is not going into like a direction that is good for me and all.
Yeah. So, one of the things that you do have to be cautious of whenever Gemini's involved like this within the second house is the emphasis of acquiring and obtaining knowledge can be preferred above everything else. So it's really important to remember to check in and ground yourself and to have moments of assessing the realism, how realistic your actions are, because it can fall into a bad habit of not wanting to take action. So you just keep acquiring more information, more knowledge, more things, but you don't actually end up doing enough with it. And so,
Girl, bye.
whoopsies.
My t-shirt here. Okay, sure. But please continue.
Oh no. Yeah, astrology sees all.
Apparently so.
Yeah. So it's at some point we have to show the results of our work. We have to show what the benefit of acquiring all of these pieces of the puzzle were. So at some point we do have to put the puzzles together. So whenever it comes to your resources, it's important to understand and plan ahead if possible of what the line is, where the line is for what's enough
Yeah,
and say, okay, realistically, genuinely, once I reach this line, this limit, this is enough, and I need to do an explicit action. At this point, at this line, X needs to happen. I have to do X.
yeah,
And then just be realistic. Are more steps needed? Do I have a second line to where which once that line is reached, it's time to action something else? Because that's Gemini's an air sign. And so it likes to just kind of be off in the ether, just hanging out and looking at things and checking things out. And
mhm.
so at some point, we got to pull ourselves back down to reality, back down to earth and say, okay, certain things need to happen. So let's move forward.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I would say that's the most common concern, even though concern is probably a strong word.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
maybe just something to be mindful of, which,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in situations where it's like, and I'm like, okay, we're not gonna do something with this. And sometimes, like, it wasn't really an unconscious decision looking, but and then like on looking back, we're like, oh, why didn't I? And other times it was like a very conscious decision of like, okay, I have this knowledge, I could go and do that, but I won't.
Hmm.
So it definitely is both. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Whenever I do have people ask me questions in the money world, a lot of people get really excited about learning about money and investing and what to do. And then they're very excited about learning more and understanding more. And then they just keep doing research. And then for months, they're just doing research and the research excites them.
Yeah.
And I often have to check in with people who have a lot of Gemini placements and say, okay, but did you do the thing yet? Did you actually make the investment yet? And instead, they're just really excited just to talk about the investments
Yeah.
and what they are.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not, interestingly enough, and maybe astrology knows why, that's not really like my money world's like scenario. Like I made a conscious decision of you will never know everything about stock markets, for example.
Sure.
And when I go do stock markets, I need to be okay with this or not. And if not, I'm not going to do it. And if yes, then I need to be able to just kind of like let it go and just do the reasonable, sensible thing for like long-term investing and then just kind of like log off.
Yep.
And that's also where I'm kind of like not really in a frenzy right now of like, oh, should I buy or sell with the current like climate, blah blah. Like I decided I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do it long term. Like I did my basic research of what is sensible, and that's it. Like otherwise,
Hmm.
I'll probably drive me crazy.
Yeah,
Then there are
exactly.
other areas of my life where I'm like, oh, I could do it.
Yeah, it's so interesting how the other planets push and pull against where we really drill down into what fascinates us and where the rest of it we're just like, ah, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Then and the money is there's some sort of strong like counter pull of
Hmm.
reality or something. I don't know.
Absolutely. We'll actually get into that here in a little bit. I think I have something that plays into that, why
Ooh,
that topic for
exciting.
you is more a little more actionable.
Ooh, exciting.
So yeah, let's actually get into that. That's a good segue. So, what I think I'd like to do is talk about your eighth house because you have a really interesting placement in your eighth house. And
Okay.
this house represents getting intimate with money. And it also includes the intimacy of other people's money as well. So, the eighth house is a very fascinating house that represents the more taboo topics of life because it's often in a dark comical way. It's referred to as the house of sex, death, and money,
Yeah.
or sex, death, and
That's very
taxes.
rock and roll.
Yeah, one of those. And so what really drew me to this house for you is
Mhm.
that your natal Neptune is in this house, and it's at something called
Good,
an,
right? I mean, I took from before Jupiter is like abundance.
yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
loving where it is going. Please continue.
You got it. And so when your natal Neptune is at this Aries point, this let's see. So an Aries point refers to the four cardinal signs, and any planet that is at 0 degrees of a cardinal sign ends up being very visible. It's something that you're not really able to hide from others. It's something, this type of energy in the area that this represents, it's very visible to others more or less. And so
Okay.
your natal Neptune is in Capricorn at 0 degrees and 27 minutes. And so that's why it's considered at an Aries point. And the great thing about Neptune is that it's actually pretty comfortable there in the eighth house. It's second favorite house. So the first favorite is the 12th house. That's its most natural placement. But it also enjoys the eighth house just because of the topics and the area of your life that it represents.
Okay, so
So
I have two planets in my eighth house.
you
Jupiter.
do.
Neptune. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was sort of confused because we've had Jupiter first and now I'm like Neptune. Hold on. Do you have two planets? Okay. Is it that can be a thing? You can have two planets in a house. Okay.
Yeah, they're not conjunct, but they are both there in that house. And your Neptune is technically more visible. More visible between the two because it's at this Aries point. It's
Mhm.
like it gives it a little boost, this energy boost.
Okay, what is kind of like the you've said like it's something like that I'm not able to hide. So the Neptune energy is not something I'm able to hide.
No,
What is
it
Neptune energy though?
Neptune represents our intuition, our dreams.
Oh, okay. Anything
Yeah,
kind of ooh.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Its placement here in this house, it really plays into, I think it goes back to playing into your ability to just know things or to see things in a very clear way. To you, it's very clear, even though others, it might be very nebulous or they might not even notice these details at all. For you, you just have this very natural intuition to really pay attention to niche details that helps you build very close and trustworthy relationships in your personal life. And it can also help you notice specific and helpful details in a way that can help you in the business world as well. And so that's why you could be seen as a very important asset, an asset that others would want, where they would want to work with you, have a relationship with you in some way. And again, any type of relationship, friend, romantic, it doesn't matter. And it also gives you this very unique type of business acumen to where people would want to invest in you. They would want to invest in your capabilities, your ideas, your capacity to build things because you're able to bring down dreams and ideas into the real world.
Mm.
And there's this layer with a placement like this to where you potentially do have vivid dreams, things that you might have come into your mind, whether that's literally in a dream or daydreaming, or just somehow have a very spontaneous idea that you have this strong need or recognition that this is good, this needs to happen.
Mm.
And it also plays into this really strong need to know why something's important, to know why something works the way it does, etc. Because this discovery of knowledge is very energizing and it's very invigorating for you because it's like connecting this world, this real world, with what else is out there, what other mysteries might be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates for sure. I had always a thing for more, I don't know, occult themes or astrology, tarot, also color energies, like you name it, right? I
Hmm.
think all of this is very interesting. And it was hard at time, like there was a time when it was really hard to kind of like make sense of this and like my academic background and my
Mm.
academic training because those two don't necessarily go well, or at least not in a very like traditional academic sense.
Yep. Yep. I have a lot of empathy for you because I'm right there with you. I
So,
have struggled with that so much myself, so I definitely empathize with you.
mm,
I eventually had to come to a point to where I realized that I really do find this fascinating and I find it helpful. I do really find that it helps people put words to what they're thinking or feeling.
yeah.
And then it's perfectly fine to action them in other ways that hold, efficacy, for example. They can go to a licensed therapist and seek out efficacious treatment, etc. It's
Hmm.
not meant to take away from other things. It
Yeah,
vibes with,
exactly. Exactly. It's not meant to take away, it's meant to add
yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
certainly not an appropriate replacement for things that have efficacy, but it's not meant to do that in the first place. It vibes with some people and helps some people, and it is fascinating and hopefully there's room for both.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely room, there should definitely be room for both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not, and I always also say like, if it's not meant to restrict you or like, I don't know, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do this thing today because of my, I don't know, Mercury placement today. Like,
Yeah.
no, well, maybe, but maybe you just also don't want to do it because you actually have to ask yourself why you don't want to do it, right? Like,
Exactly.
just meeting yourself with the honesty that's required.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. And I also found myself getting burnt out with having to be too robotic because I spent so much time in academia and other professional areas of my life to where I felt like it was really stripping people of their humanity. And I definitely felt like there has to be more to life than only ones and zeros, more, for lack of
Yeah,
a better term. So,
yeah, absolutely, 100% agree.
yeah. But getting back to your placement, the other really important part of your Neptune is that you are experiencing a once in a lifetime transit of your natal Neptune square Neptune where it is right now. So if you overlay your chart and an astrology chart of today's date, for example, the two Neptunes are making a 90 degree square. And this 90-degree square, it only happens once in our lifetimes. And it's jokingly referred to as one of the midlife crisis transits because it represents a period of confusion and frustration and just concern with, am I on the right track? Do I need to make changes? Like what's happening?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it just started for you since Neptune did just enter Aries. So your Neptune square is going to last from now through February of 2026.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, some of them are very, very slow. Neptune's one of the slow moving planets, so it'll hang out like this for a little while. But it does mark a really important period of personal growth and evolution. So, this is a really important time for you right now in your life. The importance of this time period is just to reevaluate your path in life and to try to be mindful of taking quiet moments to check in with your intuition, to check in with your mind and your body in some ways, just to see if it's asking you to make important changes to set your future self up for success. So, if there are any adjustments that need to be made, either big or small, this is the time to be thinking through what those might be.
Mm.
So, it's not a time to force or to rush anything. It's not meant to be a time of sudden change, but just to pay attention to any thoughts or patterns, especially ones that keep popping up, little examples that keep popping up,
Mhm.
just to think through for some actionable steps that would need to be put into place to be implemented towards the end of the transit. So, any changes that you do decide are necessary, it's important to action them closer to March of 2026
Mm.
rather than saying, "Oh my God, I think I'm a little off track. I think something needs to change and I need to make a change right this second." So it's not
Okay.
about that. It's about genuinely pausing and saying, "Okay, if something needs to change, when is it most appropriate to start moving it in that new direction?"
Okay. And kind of like let it marinate and
Exactly.
okay.
Yep. And then the thing about Neptune being in the sign of Capricorn is technically that's considered it being in its fall. So in astrology speak, if a planet is in fall, it just means it's less comfortable. It's a sign
Okay.
to
It's
where
not the one he would choose if he could.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. But the silver lining of having your natal Neptune in Capricorn is that this is what gives you the capacity to make dreams a reality because it does ground the very dreamy Neptune. It causes this area of your life to end up being more practical and having the capacity to move forward with necessary action.
Okay. So kind of like where like Capricorn's discipline kind of like comes in.
Exactly.
I
So
gotcha.
this plays into a little bit more of what you were saying earlier, to where when it does come to money, because again, this is another house of money, you actually can just make a decision and move forward
Yeah.
rather than being stuck in just idea land.
Yeah, exactly. That like with money, I can. An area where I absolutely cannot is anything like health.
Your health?
Yeah. Like
Oh,
I don't know. Mm-mm. It's really like what I shared like when I decided I'm gonna do invest and I read up and I did it and it's kind of like done, right?
yeah.
When it comes to like health or exercise, this is not working for me at
Oh
all.
no. Do you
So
mind?
maybe the stars have an insight on this.
We might have to do a round two. Um, there are different types of astrologers, and some astrologers are really, really good at medical astrology. They're actually very efficient at seeing placements that represent
Oh,
health.
I didn't know that this was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And so I'm the type of astrologer to where I help people when they're stuck. So I do the very big existential questions like, who am I? Why am I here? This isn't like, why aren't things working? And then I niched down into money because it ended up at each
Mhm.
time I tried to give people different courses of action that they could take. Because in America land, it all comes down to money. No one has enough money to action any recommendations. So that's when I started helping people get their finances in
Yeah.
order. So I don't specialize in medical questions, if you will, but your sixth house is the house that represents your health. And your sixth house is very interesting because you have it's ruled by Libra, which is an air sign. So again, this is more about ideas versus action. And you've got three planets and they're intercepted in Scorpio. And when planets are intercepted, it's much more difficult to use their energy.
So they're kind of like all blocking each other out.
Yeah, it's because intercepted houses are hidden. The energy is hidden. So it takes extra effort to use them and to understand how to implement this energy because they can be secret weapons. If you take time to understand the energies and what the planets are representing and how they feel, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
if you're better able to empathize with their placements, then you're better able to use them.
Yes, makes
So,
sense.
in theory, once you understand them better, they become secret weapons rather than something that's very difficult and a struggle. Like
Yeah,
instead of
I
you
mean,
struggling
just
with them,
the ability that you can name what's going on, like, will help you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the planets are Pluto, Saturn, and Mars.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, okay, Mars is kind of like action taker. Go do it.
Right.
And so then I'm like, okay, then interesting that this is really not working in like my house of health.
No, because it's like Mars. Let's see. I've got a picture. Let me see if I can get it out.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's pretend that you needed to exercise as a car. So you need to drive the car to the end point. So that distance of you driving the car is you exercising.
Yeah.
Mars is the planet that represents action. It represents doing your physical body, your health, etc. So Mars is the one that should be driving that car. But you've put a blanket over his head and you've told him, get on the Autobahn. I need you to go 120 right now. It's very important. We're sprinting today. Go. But you put a blanket over his head. Clearly,
Clearly he's yeah, he's
that's not going
not
to end well for
in the
anyone.
capacity. No.
So, so this would definitely take some time to figure out what we need to do to tell Mars, I need you to take that blanket off your head so that I can exercise and take care of myself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I see where the follow-up call is coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just a very interesting observation. Like, I mean, feel free to spill more secrets on how I can attract the most money most effortlessly.
All right. Let me put that away.
Just hire a personal trainer who takes a blanket off Mars's face and be done with it.
Uh, you know what's really funny is that sometimes I see placements and charts and I'm like, oh, that would be very interesting to talk about. That was one of them when I saw those three hanging out down there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So mental note to myself. Okay. Pluto, Saturn, and Mars need to investigate. The trio infernale need to investigate.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, I agree with you. We can let me see if I can get my head back in the game and then we can talk about money.
All right. We're jumping back and forth.
Yeah. Alrighty. So yeah, we talked about your Neptunes. Neptunes are good to go. All right, let's get into these finances and also hear more about your experiences and see if you have any questions when it comes to the more mundane financial piece.
Yeah, please.
So, although I wish I knew how to make vast amounts of money very quickly and easily, I have yet to discover this.
Yeah, I mean it's our modern sorcerer like philosopher's stone, right? I mean, we all want to know that. Like
Yeah.
I know for me it works when I don't chase, right? When I just be in my lane, do what I like
Yeah.
doing, and then it comes. But again, this is not like super reliable, right? So I'm like, how can I make it more reliable? But then again, no, bitch, that's not the point. But like, it's yeah, so this is something that I still struggle with is kind of like the whole untangling of worth not equals output, right? Like
Mm,
we're so trimmed done doing more, like for getting more, which is kind of like not healthy, not good for us or anyone. Um, so yeah, I'm really also working. Oh yeah, constantly working, kind of like untangling that, and it has
hmm
gotten better for
Okay,
sure.
that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Because you're right, it's really hard to assess long term what is enough. Like, am I doing enough action in the present to make sure that I have enough in the future? It is really difficult to make that assessment over very long periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do know and understand how to take those actionable steps and invest in the stock market to build long-term wealth. And access to understanding this type of information, this type of knowledge of like the basics of how to be an investor in a sustainable way, again, not in a risky way.
Yeah.
It does seem to be missing or unknown for a lot of the Europeans that I work with. But the reasons for this are different compared to my American clients because for Americans, investing is basically a requirement if Americans hope to retire one day.
Mm.
But for Europeans, investing could be viewed, again, depending upon the country, et cetera, it could be viewed as something like a bonus or a nice to have in order to increase their wealth and even potentially retire early. That is a legitimate possibility.
Yes.
So in both locations, it does hold value. It does hold importance for Europeans, but it seems to lack the same level of urgency or criticality compared
Yeah,
to
for
the
sure.
Americans that I work with.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I did just want to ask, what is your experience though with either learning about investing or hearing about how to invest just from that European perspective?
I mean, while as of right now, I do have a like I have a pension that is kind of like being secured by the government. It you kind of never know how much it will be really. Like I know it will be less than what I have now.
Okay,
So investing is kind of like topping up. Maybe your pension is kind of like 70% of what you have now.
I see.
Kind
Okay,
of like give or take, right?
okay.
Depending on how much money you paid in, how long you've paid in, blah 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 blah. But maybe 70%. And again, don't come for me for numbers, maybe it's less or more, I don't know. But like but anyway, like my stock investments are kind of like to fill the top up between those 70% that I have that I know I'm gonna have if all going well, and like the lifestyle I have now. So I don't kind of like need to drastically reduce lifestyle once
Mhm.
I stop working.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you very much for sharing that, just
Yeah.
to understand.
So would I get by with 70% of it? Yes.
Right,
But would it be nice to have more? Sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Try to keep it at the 100% or even more
Yeah. And
if
you
that were to
just
be
really know,
possible.
okay, the current lifestyle I hold, I'll be able to continue.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's really important because there is an assessment that's made that you might need a little less just because the process of working does cause us to spend money. And so, in theory, there are some expenses that go away when we truly retire. However, there's always that big question mark of inflation and is it truly going to be enough, et cetera.
Yeah, and
So,
your health is really bad and you need extra money to take care of yourself, or your health is really good and you were like, let's go travel or let's go
yeah,
do, I don't know, fun stuff with the grandkids if there are any around, right? Like
exactly.
you have
So,
to
all of
find
these
some
are
of our
question
buffer.
marks.
Yeah.
So, the bigger buffer we have, the more that we're able to truly save and feel like, okay, for whatever happens, I feel like this is enough of a resource to where I'm going to be okay, regardless of what our stories, what our narratives end up being. And so the same rules actually do apply for investing within Europe. So, meaning investing in individual stocks would carry a higher risk. And it's also more time consuming because you have to conduct a lot of research for which company would be worth an investment, as well as ironically needing a larger sum of money to make an initial investment if you choose to purchase individual stocks. Because in theory, when that stock suddenly increases, you've ensured that you had enough capital originally invested to where that growth will cause a significant enough increase in your portfolio.
Hmm.
And so that's why investing in exchange traded funds or ETFs is considered better, especially for beginning investors, vice trying to research and manage individual stocks. And so that's why it mitigates investing in ETFs, it mitigates these common concerns of new investors
Hmm.
because, for example, the ETFs will automatically diversify your portfolio because these, are made up of hundreds or even thousands of stocks. And the broker that you choose, they're the ones who automatically keep these up to date. So you don't have to personally monitor the stock market and then make that assessment of if or when it's time to sell an individual stock. So
Mm.
this is why you're able to make those consistent investments over time. So for example, a consistent monthly sum of like 500 euros every month and make that consistent investment over time because that's what really adds up. What's that phrase? It's not about timing the market, it's about time spent in the market. So the
Oh, yeah.
sooner, yeah, the
Yeah.
sooner you're able
It's
to make
nothing
those.
like what I do. Like I have mostly ETFs. I hold some individual stocks from Swiss companies. But this is all like with the 20 to 30-year horizon of investment.
Mhm.
Like it's not short-term gain. And I have a small percentage of the portfolio in Bitcoin as well, just to
Ah,
like
yeah.
see what happens. But this is like maybe 3 or 4%, like really, really
Right.
small because I'm not a gambler. I'm just like, let's see what
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, myself and a lot of other people, we did the same thing. We made like a one-time purchase and then that was it. We'll
Yeah,
just see what that turns into one day.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because no one knows what's going on with those. A lot of people claim they know. No one knows.
Yeah, no one knows. And if someone says they do, like run away as fast as you can.
Oh, yeah. So you were saying that you have individual stocks that were past investments, or did you say that you had ETFs?
I have mostly ETFs, but I also
Okay.
do have some individual stocks
Okay, great.
by like very solid Swiss companies where I'm like, they'll be around.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what's frustrating for a lot of people is that we would feel better in the immediate term to see that number balloon very quickly, because then that would give us a very safe, secure feeling to know, like, okay, I've made an investment and now I've got, hundreds of thousands of extra dollars and I know I'm going to be okay. But
yeah.
the frustrating part is that it takes time. It takes time for this compound interest to work in our favor. There's really no get rich quick
Yeah, and
button.
again, the whole, I mean, that's probably where it's like where things are easier for me as a European, where don't have everything tied up in this, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I have the stocks, I have my paid, like I have my state pension, and I have like a private health insurance kind of pension plan.
Yeah.
It's multifaceted. So if any one of those goes poof, at least there's a fallback plan. But yeah, if anything being tied to it's really like I said to myself when I if I want to do stock market, even for a long term like horizon, I this is kind of money that it's kind of like gamble money, right? Like when you go to Vegas and you know you're gonna go with like I don't know $1,000, and those $1,000 are gone no matter what. They're kind of like gone. And that kind of like helped me not to freak out, right? Because, yeah, first my portfolio was plus 60%. And now, like, those 60% are like, poof, it's probably up 5% right now. Because it's just the last week and a half have been insane. But again, yeah, maybe it's easier if you're European to not be like completely like push and pull by this. But that was really crucial for me to can I like just let this go and let
Right,
this be? Otherwise, I would drive myself crazy with like checking stocks every day or whatever.
right, right, exactly. It's what you're saying is really important about those ETFs is that you don't have to worry or spend time managing them. They're self-managing. It's like they take care of themselves. And you're right that unfortunately, right now is really rough. Right now is a terribly unusual time. And so that regardless of what's happening right now, the stock market does ebb and flow naturally.
Yeah.
And it's really important not to panic and want to pull resources out of your investments if now's not the time to use them because that'll actualize the loss. Instead, if you just maintain your plan
Yeah.
and just stick to your plan, then everything will be fine. It's whenever people panic suddenly that it messes everything up.
That is true for all of life's plans and situations. But
So,
yeah, I
so
mean,
true.
I see it in a way, right? Like the money I put away in stocks, even if the stocks are doing really, really bad or slow, and I don't know, when it's time to check out, it's only like a plus 15% that the stock market gave me, or quotes, right? That my money was working for me. Even if it's only like a 15%, A, that's a 15% is 15%.
Mhm.
B, if I wouldn't have put, even if it would have been zero, I would have had more money. I would have more money than if I didn't put it in the stock market because I would have just spent it.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
either way, I win, right? And maybe I win
Yeah.
a bit more or I win a bit less, but either way, I win. That's kind of like
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
of course, we all would like to win big, but
Yeah. Was it a one-time investment that you made, or do you invest consistently?
I made a one-time investment of like I think the initial one was maybe 2,000 euros,
Okay.
and now I do monthly payments.
Okay, great. Yeah, because that's really what helps it really jump up over
Yeah.
time is
Like I
doing
do
those.
monthly payments that go into my kind of like stocking account, stock account. I don't buy monthly.
Okay.
I kind of like maybe I buy once or twice a year or so, and then kind of like buying a larger chunk to kind of like keep transaction fees and stuff low.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah. That
that's
is the
basically very nitty-gritty of it, of what I do
yeah.
as a non-financial expert.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of the better, because you're right, those currency conversion fees and those other types of transactional fees, those can be complicated and more higher. There's higher and more frequent fees for a lot of the European investors. But I've heard that places like, forgive me for the pronunciation, but Saxo Bank or like Interactive Brokers, like those are some
Yeah.
ones that I've heard that Switzerland is okay with for minimizing fees and currency conversion fees.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't know. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not advisable that you every month you just if you put in 200 euros every month, that why buy ETFs every month for 200 euros? Why not
Hmm.
wait like 3, 4, 5, 6 months to buy them, right? Like it's I mean, it's small, but if you do that over 20 years, it's also gonna compound,
Yes.
right? And I mean, I do everything over my app. We have a really cool app here.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I I just go on the app and say now transfer like I don't know 800 euros to this ETF. Done.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're doing all the right things because you're right. The investments make on average 10% a year because we have really good years and then bad years. And over time, since the stock market was invented, the annual average is a 10% increase. And
Mm,
so that's better than any, savings account percentage, et cetera. So it
yeah.
really does make a difference over time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's as I said, I see it as it's a win either way. I would
Exactly.
so have blown through all that money if I wouldn't have put it like safely away. I don't know. I don't know where that is in my natal chart, but I'm like, it's gone. It's cool. Like I am at peace with being an experience spender. I really enjoy spending on experiences. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm the same. I really don't have anything to show, if you will, for my money. All my spending money goes towards either food or travel.
Yeah, they're very limited things where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is where the money went.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, but then I go look at my like cloud with all the photos. I'm like, oh, that's where the money. And I look at my kid and be like, that's where the money went. But yeah, I'm really an experienced spender, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm
Yeah,
happy with that. Or
yeah,
like, let's go for dinner and I pick up the tab vendor. Like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, exactly. It gives us those really rich memories as well towards our later years because we'll be the cool old people with all the crazy stories.
yeah, yeah. That's the vibe I'm going for.
Well,
Oh,
it sounds like you're doing all the right things. Like I love the plan that you have that you've put into place and that you're actioning. Are there
yeah,
any?
feels very adulting.
Yeah, that's a very good word for it.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm always kind of like in the ebb and flow of like, this is adulting. This is good. And then of like, let's just cash it all out and do something fun. Like, no, man, no. Yeah. I am good at living with this duality by now.
I'm sure it took practice. I'm sure you were like, okay, I
Yeah,
gotta reel this
it
in.
did. It did. It did for sure.
Oh, are there any other questions, like the astrology questions, or any other things that I can help you with during our time today?
I don't know, maybe just like one you said like you look at the chart and then there are certain things where you're like, ooh, interesting. Like were there like another kind of area where you were like, ooh, interesting that we haven't touched on yet?
That's a really good question. You did just finish your Pluto square Pluto transit, and that's another really critical transit for it's possible that we experience something being taken away from us in order to make room for something new.
Mm,
So I guess that was my only question of like a really, it was a big deal. That type of transit is a big deal for, it helps us again make sure that we're on track. So for people who are very mindful of where they're going and how they want to live their lives and the path that they want to take, some people really don't have any big life changes during this time. It's
yeah.
really for people who are like way off track.
Yeah.
But there's always a potential that something
When
new
was the
happened for you.
period? You said I just crossed it. I just finished it, right?
Yeah, so it would have been last year. It would have been last year that potentially something new might
Yeah.
have happened, like a new period of personal evolution.
Yeah, I'd say definitely I entered my 40s and it was definitely a thing of like having less fucks to give about the opinions of and but it's kind of like broader. I think it was like 3 years ago where like a lot of things started to shift after I gave birth to my son in
Mm,
2019 and then really 2022 I'd say onset of 2023. Yeah, around that. That was really when a lot of things really shifted and I ended like a lot of relationships, even really close relationships
Hmm.
of like, nah, we're not gonna do this. So yeah, it feels like there has been a lot of shit going down the past couple of years. So I'm kind of like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna let's see what let's see what this kind of like prepared me for.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because where Pluto is now, it's also right at the top of your chart. And that's another very visible part of your chart. So it represents our reputation in the world. It also represents your profession, like your long-term profession and your career and what you're known for. And
Yes.
so it makes sense why you'd want to revolutionize how you engage with others and make room for things that would be better for you.
Yeah, and I was also like faced with decisions of like, okay, who can I live with me if I just let this slide or not?
Mm,
And there were some instances where I'm like, no, I cannot. Like, I have to end this relationship. Like, this is
mm,
not this. I cannot bring this together with how I see the world and with my values. So yeah, this definitely resonates. And I'm like, I think it's okay if we have some smoother waters ahead of us for a short period.
yes, it would be nice to get a break. It seems
Yeah,
like things are always happening.
yeah, and they're very some as I said at the beginning, some very exciting things are happening or happen at the early of the year, and it's I'm really like I'm not going like full on with that. I had some people who were like, oh, you should do much like now that you have I don't know more eyeballs in your work, you should do more kind of like amplified or like whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I could, but I don't really want to. Like, it
Hmm.
will find me.
Yeah,
So, in that kind of sense. So,
yeah,
yeah. So I'm excited to see what will find me.
me too. That's actually a perfect segue because I did want you to please share who you are and how you help people. I would love for people to know about your business and how they can find you.
Oh, okay. So my online treehouse is jenniferwalter.me. From there, you can find everything. I hang out too much on social media, so you can find me on Instagram, on Threads, mostly, and TikTok. And if you also want to hear more about the work I do, you must come and listen to the Scenic Route podcast, especially the episode where Brie was on. And yeah, I am at the very interesting and sometimes hard to grasp intersection of what of kind of like why we do certain things we do, not from like a psychological point, but kind of like what are the roles that are placed upon us and the expectations, and how these make it really, really hard to hear what we actually want. And I support people through all the free work I do and to also through one-on-one coaching to kind of like cut through all this noise of expectations and roles that have been placed upon them to kind of like go back to their own agency and find back to that.
That's lovely. I really hope people go check you out and listen to your podcast because your podcast is amazing. So
Thank
yeah, I
you.
really hope that people find you and work with you.
Yeah, yeah. Come, just come say hi. Come to my treehouse and come say
Yay.
hi.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and for having one of your first astrology readings. So I hope it was a fun experience for you.
Thank you so much. It was. I learned a ton, and I'm like, okay, I'm still gonna go investigate that Pluto, Saturn, Mars trio infernale. So I'm excited.
Excellent. We'll have to do more in the future.
Thank you so much, Brie.
Thank you. I want to thank you so much for joining me this week on Forecasting for Success and let you know that you can read the transcript for each podcast episode on my website, which is linked below in the show notes. I've also included the link to send me your money questions if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast at forecastingforsuccess.com/podcast. And if you're ready to get started on improving your financial literacy and developing your own personalized money plan, I encourage you to join my Forecasting for Success community, where I teach you everything you need to know about budgeting, how to choose your retirement number, how to invest in the stock market, and so much more. I go live in the community each month to check in on your progress and help answer any questions you may have. And it's a supportive community where you can also check in with other members and learn from their experiences as well. I hope you take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next week.